As an American that has spent the vast majority of his adult life in Europe, I have to say that when I first came here, the chips in Europe were really lacking. I think that only the UK had really solid chips and flavors, and I guess the rest of the nation just sort of didn't take it seriously as a snack, and probably rightfully so. It's literal junk food. But now, today, Europe's kind of caught up, but in a way that's really strange. So a lot of these flavors are really not what Americans sort of anticipate, and I think even between countries, these flavors are going to be quite strange for a lot of Europeans. Mostly because they don't sort of just see chips as a snack that you just sit down and mindlessly eat, but it kind of has a function. So they want it to have a more profound texture or a stronger flavor. Sometimes it's strictly a beer snack, so it's designed to be eaten with alcohol. So today we're going to have these chips with a little bit of beer, some sour cream, and then some hot sauces, just to sort of explore if the chips need a little bit more assistance. Instead of going country by country with these flavors, I've sort of paired them with each other if they have sort of a mate from a different country, and I'm going to increase the intensity of the flavor as we go through this chip tasting. So, without any further ado, let's hop right in. In terms of European food reviews, there's no better place to start than the UK versus France. Sort of a perpetual rivalry that's continued to this day, and they've actually created sort of mirrored flavors, so it actually sort of makes sense to have these go head to head. So we have the cheddar and onion, and then we have a cheddar and then Rostov onion? Rostov? I don't know how to say that. So these should be similar in texture and flavor, but I guess we'll just find out. Okay, that looks pretty good. Really firm. Oh, smells super nice. So, we'll give the UK a test first. That's super cool. It would be very easy to have the onion overpower the flavor of the cheddar, but they're really balanced quite well, and the texture is incredible. It's got a really, really nice crunch to it. Excellent. This is a really good chip. Okay, so we have a ruffled chip. So this is a ruffled chip style. Okay, the smell is a little less impressive. Okay, so this tastes way more like cheddar. So it's got a very cheese-forward flavor and very little onion. And if there is any onion, it's definitely not balanced. So I would say that this is the superior chip by a pretty large margin. But I guess we can see if these flavors can be assisted by a little bit of accoutrement. Beer to the rescue. I have some homemade sour cream. Look how thick that is. Oh my God. So I actually think that the English chip is sort of perfect as is. It doesn't really need anything to sort of elevate it, but we'll see if we can improve the French chip a bit. The sour from the sour cream is so much more pronounced in a homemade sour cream, but it really blends well with that very cheesy flavor, and I love the texture of a ruffled chip. So I think that does definitely rescue this French cheddar and onion chip. Wet my whistle. So I would say of the two, the English chip is far superior. I believe I've had this brand before, but not this flavor, and I've had, I think, this exact chip before, but I'd forgotten about it. So far, the UK is winning, which is probably a common scenario in this rivalry. Up next, we have something so ridiculous I couldn't leave it out, and this is Hoops. I don't know where this is really coming from. It's a corn onion ring. So this is basically a Ukrainian Funyun. I've seen these before, but I thought that they were kind of a joke. I guess anyone that sees Funyuns would probably rightfully believe that as well. That's what we're looking at. Lord of the Rings. Very muted, almost absent smell, and the texture of it is really bizarre. It doesn't have that sort of soft give that Funyuns usually have, but we'll give it a go. Ugh. It tastes like a deep-fried packing peanut, something like that. It's really sort of flavorless. The texture's weird. It feels a bit stale. It's just very strange. It doesn't have that give that a Funyun has. but we'll try with sour cream. I thought that I might be pleasantly surprised because I actually really like Funyuns. But this is no bueno. So now we're getting into the really strange territory of chips. And these are, they're just called chips, but they're done in a style that's sort of reminiscent of a Pringle. But instead of just that single oval, it's a long, thin wafer. And these chips existed in sort of the post-Soviet collapse. As capitalism tried to get a foothold in Eastern Europe, everyone was looking for some way to sort of establish a business, and I think that they just took sort of potato remnants, ground it into a slurry, and then pressed it into a disc, or a wafer. So these are very common in Eastern Europe. They're sort of dying out because they're being sort of decimated by newer, better flavors and textures. But it's really worth talking about it. I might make a specific video about this just because they're so weird. So here we have a meat jello with horseradish flavor. I'm gonna save this for another occasion because I don't want to do that to myself today. We have a barbecue flavor. I'm gonna save that because it's just a little too tame. We have a honey barbecue flavor. Also gonna keep that. It just says Hot Busters with a raccoon. Not really sure why. And this is the one that we're going to try. So this is with the flavor of curry. So this is rotisserie chicken. So this was a fad that was also popular in sort of the post-Soviet collapse of rotisserie chicken. So people would go to these rotisserie chicken places and get curry, and it was a wildly popular way to sort of go to a restaurant without spending a lot of money, and then also sort of get some really good food for quite cheap. So we're gonna give this a test. So they're sort of like just long, thin Pringles. Ha! Oh my God. So I haven't had this specific brand because I sort of stopped eating these because the novelty wore off, but they are interesting. But I do have to say that this smell is actually super reminiscent of a rotisserie chicken. Curry, post-Soviet Pringle wafer. You know what? This isn't bad. This is actually really cool. The texture sort of stepped up a bit from what I'm used to. It's a little bit more pliable. Usually it's super fragile and thin, but this is quite nice. And the flavor is really cool. It's not overwhelmingly salty. Usually Ukrainian chips are very salty because they usually are seen as like a beer snack, but it's pretty well balanced, pretty good. I really like the texture that the sour cream adds, but I think that the flavor of the undressed chip is actually better. So then why not with a little bit of hot sauce? All right, so this is a black truffle hot sauce. This might be weirder than the chip itself. Huh. I don't know if I love that or hate that. I'm leaning towards love it. But it's such a weird combination. It's just hot enough to give me a little bit of a tingle, so it's not overwhelming. And then the prominent taste of truffle with the prominent taste of a rotisserie chicken, it's actually pretty interesting. So, oddly, 2 thumbs up. So with this one, we go to Spain. So this is a Spanish chip, and this is tomato and olive. So it actually looks pretty good. I've had this brand before, but just their sort of plain potato chip. I've not had their flavors just because it looked a little odd. Tomato and olive. We'll see how that goes. Okay, so a super excellent texture to these. These are very reminiscent of a kettle chip. It looks like whole real potatoes, and then like the amount of spice I see here, it looks like applied pretty liberally. Very potatoey smell, so these are probably made with really nice potatoes, but we'll see. I don't really know too much about Spanish chips. Cheers. So the tomato is just sort of lingering in the background, and then the olive is sort of so forward in the flavor that it's a little bit powerful. I love olives, so that's not really a problem. But I think that maybe a little bit more tomato might be nice. But it's really good. The texture is fantastic. The quality of the spices is really good. You can taste the sort of black pepper in this, so it's got a little bit of a zing to it. And the potatoes are really high quality. For anyone that knows, there's a sandwich sort of native to New Orleans called a muffaletta. I'm probably saying that wrong. And that's got sort of an olive salad on it as well. This chip would just go so great with that sandwich. Try with a little bit of this hot sauce because I think they might be good together. That's super cool. That's super cool. The spice and the hot sauce mixed with the really olive forward flavor of the chip and the really strong texture really makes this an excellent combination. All right, so I would say that these are a little bit of a strange flavor, probably imbalanced in terms of the sort of flavors that they have, but the texture and the quality of it is really high. So really well done, Spain. So now it's time to get serious. And we've come to probably one of my favorite flavors, and that is dill and pickle flavor. Okay, so we have dill flavored chips from Poland, and then we have dill pickle chips from Norway. I think that the flavor is probably going to be quite aligned. I haven't had this, but unfortunately I have had this. And it's unfortunate because it's so amazing that I really wish I could have recorded my initial reaction. These chips are amazing. Taste, texture, all of it. So putting it head to head against this chip, it's going to be tough. Okay, so we'll start with the Norwegian chip. So here you see sort of like a skin-on kettle chip type cook. Really well prepared. I really love how firm and thick this is. This is a really nice kettle style chip, skin on. Beautiful, powerful dill smell to it. And the Polish? Wow, okay, so the smell is very dill, but this smells more like the dill crown. So like the dill used in pickling, not fresh dill. And it's a little bit milder. This smells more like a pickle, so they are properly labeled. And I guess we'll give this a go first. There's really a lot of that dill spice here. Polish dill chip. Wow, so dill. This has got a very strong dill flavor to it, which anyone that knows Eastern Europeans, dill is like the flavor of Eastern Europe. Dill and sour cream. This really surprised me. I thought that this might be a little underwhelming, but the texture is fantastic. Really strong summertime dill flavor to it. I thought it might have been a little underwhelming, but this is great. Excellent job, Poland. And now we get to compare. So you can see there's much less dill on these, and it's got a lot more of a briny smell to it. The texture of these is just fantastic. They've got such a crunch to them. They're really tough, thick chips. And this is obviously more dill, and this has a sort of a weird brine aftertaste to it. So it really does taste like a pickle. And this really does taste like dill. So we'll take the dill, give it a little bit of sour cream. That is super cool. That's really, really awesome. It sort of totally changes the entire flavor profile of it because sour cream and dill just go together so beautifully. And to Norway. This one actually benefits a lot from the sour cream because the pickle flavor really takes a long time to sort of set in on the palate, and it's much more subtle. So it's really beautiful the way that the textures and the flavors combine. There's a really hard, tough chip, that cream, plus the gentle sort of pickle flavor with the really sour cream. It goes together excellently. Both of these are fantastic. Okay, so now we're going to Germany with a sort of parallel flavor maybe with rosemary. So another herbal sort of blend. This is a chip type that I've never had before, but rosemary goes so well with roast potatoes that it seems logical. So I guess we're going to find out if this makes sense. Really thick cut here. Not as thick as the Norwegians, but about as thick as the Polish dill. Quality of the potato looks really awesome. Whoa. That is a super powerful rosemary smell to it. Like really, really pronounced. All right, I guess we'll give this a go. It's a really fun flavor. I'm not really sure if I would casually want to eat rosemary. Just because the sort of texture with a potato combines so well with the rosemary, but in chip form, it's a little bit strange. And then consuming more than just a small handful of it would really be exhausting palate-wise, just because it's such a profound taste. But I think it's pretty interesting. We'll give it a go in some sour cream. So I don't think that this is a good chip to dip into sour cream, and I also don't think that this is a chip that you would eat a lot. This is just sort of like a very small sampling of it. But it's nice to eat a chip that has its own self-defense mechanism, so I guess this would prevent you from overeating, so not for me. So in my quest to find the weirdest chips that I possibly could, I was able to track down one from Italy. And here we have truffle and sea salt chips. So this seems a little bit pretentious and a little bit weird. We have the truffle hot sauce. So I guess we'll give this a go. It's a really weird smell. Oh, that's really weird. It smells kind of like feet. I know that there's some perverts out there that are gonna love that, but visible granules of salt and maybe too much. Like it's really like collecting on my fingers. So I really have low expectations here. So, Italy. Ugh, that's gross. I don't know who that's for. It's a really pronounced truffle flavor. You would think that it would be a little bit pulled back. Maybe something else to help balance it, because you don't want to eat a truffle just like an apple. So it needs something to sort of assist it. The texture of the chip is way better than I thought it would be, but unfortunately, really weird flavor. Let's see if sour cream can rescue this. It somehow made it worse. It's just like fattier now and somehow even stranger. I don't like that. Truffle chip with truffle hot sauce. This will be one of those it'll kill me or I'll live forever type things. Sort of a double negative. Oh God. Ugh. God. My brain can't process what it's tasting, but it's just bad. It's like gym socks and then a texture and some slight spice. Ugh, that's not good. This is by far the worst of the day so far. So, for any Americans watching, obviously Cheetos are a standard and a classic for a reason. There's crunchy and puffed, sort of our Keystone Cheetos. But in Europe, they have a lot of weird spirals and balls and hoops and stuff. And all of them have really strange flavors. But the one that's the most typical here, that would probably be the strangest for Americans, would be ketchup flavored. So this is made in Poland. Okay, so these are the little sticks, obviously trying to mimic a French fry. I think this is just what MSG smells like. I don't really smell anything. So I guess we'll just try. I've not had, the other Cheetos that are in country are kind of okay, but I've not had the ketchup ones, and I've not had any that are sticks. I'm a crunchy guy. I don't do the puffed. I don't like them. They just gum up your teeth. So, Cheetos ketchup from Poland. I don't know if you've ever tried those freeze-dried ice creams that like the astronauts would eat, and just sort of like a weird texture. That's kind of like this. It tastes like you're eating something that you shouldn't, like deep-fried couch foam or something. And then the ketchup is there, but it's more like a tomato flavor than a ketchup. And it doesn't really mimic sort of the fry because it's made with corn. So it's sort of like a deep-fried couch cushion tomato stick. I don't know. It's really weird. Sour cream. It's a little bit weird. So I've tried some British chips that were ketchup flavored. I believe they were British. They were actually super good. So I thought that this would have been a really cool offering. But it's just a little bit weird, and it doesn't really have any substance behind it. I think that this is just something for people to mindlessly eat, or little kids. I don't know. This is not good. So we've arrived at my least favorite part, and this is going to be sort of the seafood chip offering. I don't know if this exists outside of sort of Eastern Slavic cultures, but a lot of people eat fish snacks with beer. So it can be dried fish, it can be smoked fish, pickled fish, fermented fish, whatever. Fish with beer is a common snack here. So it's very natural for them to sort of combine those fish flavors into chips, because chips are seen as a beer snack. The problem is, I think they're gross. So you have a synthetic seafood flavor on top of what's typically a kind of cheap chip. So I'm going to predict that these are all going to be gross, but I guess we'll see. So this was made in Poland for Ukrainians. Polish people, do you guys eat these chips? Or is this just a sort of Eastern Slavic thing? This is a Ukrainian brand, and this is salmon and cream, and then crab flavor. God, stinks already. Ugh, God, it's like dried fish. Ah. Oh, God. It's so fishy. I don't know how they do it. It's like lingering in my mouth. Like, do they grind up dried, dehydrated fish and then just like sprinkle it and dust it on this? Ugh. Up next, salmon. So Luke's as a brand is typically quite good. But again, sort of they approach chips as a beer snack, so they're not really seen as an artisanal snack. But I think I'll trust Luke's more than Room. More muted smell, hopefully a more muted taste. I don't hate this. I thought for sure I would. It does taste of salmon, but it's much more subdued. I think that the cream is doing a lot of heavy lifting here. Sort of balances out that really fishy flavor that some of these can have. The texture is quite nice, and I don't mind the flavor. Would I buy this again for just casual consumption? Absolutely fucking not. But it doesn't make me ill. And then the Polish made for Ukraine. Oh my God. Wow, it's so fishy. Oh God. If you've ever like sort of taken care of a fish tank at any point in your life or an aquarium, and you sort of sprinkle that fish food flakes on top of your aquarium, whatever, feeding your soon-to-die goldfish. That's what this smells like. Ugh. Oh, Jesus. It smells like a really neglected fish tank. Neglected fish tank, the cheapest stripper in Myrtle Beach. Oh, wow. Ugh. So fishy. So this is way fishy. It's way more than this. But at least it somehow tastes less synthetic. I don't know how or why. This is just a little weird. This is better balanced. This is super fishy. But again, Ukrainians look at this as sort of a beer snack, so they're probably drinking beer, and they want like a really heavy snack to sort of keep up with that. So when in Rome, immediately after beer, chip. Okay, so with some of the lingering bitterness of the hops in the beer, in the mouth, that sort of fishiness is tamed a bit. So I guess, know your audience. This is made for that specific purpose. So I guess it does it well. These feel way too fishy. It's just like fishiness for fishiness sake, no real purpose. Ugh. The sour cream does nothing. So I think sour cream on these chips would be sort of like blue on black. So I'm going to take these and a little bit of hot sauce. Whoa. Whoa. Wow. That's actually super cool. So the sort of truffle flavor with that mild picante flavor really melds well with that the cream and the salmon flavor. This tastes more like a fish, and not a white fish, than just like general seafood melody. So this plus the hot sauce is actually really nice. So surprised that I like this. So I'll take this one and give it some sour cream. Yeah, so the sour fat from the sour cream really cuts through the super fishy flavor, and it's actually quite good. It's a little reminiscent of sort of like an 80s seafood salad, like imitation crab meat and mayonnaise with corn and that type of thing. Pretty good. All right, going to try with some hot sauce. How? Nope. So the weird, funky flavor of the truffle with the sort of very maritime smell of fish food, it's not harmonious. Ooh, that's terrible. God, that's really bad. Who no. So when I'm folding these bags, I just sort of bend it over like this, and the action of doing so forced out the air of the chip, and I just sort of gassed myself with, rotten Philadelphia aquarium or something. So up next we have this super cleverly named Chipsters brand. These are a Ukrainian set of chips, and they have a line of flavors that mimic sort of national dishes of Ukraine. So here we have borscht, here we have chicken Kiev, and here we have potato vareniki, so a potato dumpling. Since a potato dumpling as a chip is literally just potato, 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 we're just not going to take this one. As cool as it might be to eat chicken Kiev, I imagine that it's just the flavor of potato plus butter. We're going to skip that. So that leaves us with borscht. This could be a really interesting flavor. It should be very beet-centric. So beet, meat, a little bit of onion, and then a little bit of sweetness. This has a sort of identical texture to it as the salmon-flavored chips, so sort of like the lux. Maybe they're made in similar ways. They look almost identical. The quality of the potato is way lower as well. So with the Italian-style chips and the Norwegian and even the Polish, you would see like striations of like real potato. This looks more like a pressed composite or something. So it just looks way less quality. Woo. This has a really weird smell to it. Doesn't even smell like borscht. Not even. I wouldn't even identify this as anything other than pure protein if I just smelled it. Cheers. Okay, so there's a little bit more nuance there in the flavor than in the smell. So it is very like protein centric when it should be beet centric, but this is very synthetic meat smelling. So we'll give this a go with some sour cream. Get out of here, you. Okay, so the flavor of the chip is like so powerful that it kind of overrides the sour cream. And that's kind of wild because this is thick homemade sour cream. So this is real sour cream. Not great. So we're going to get a big boy. Let's see if some of this hot sauce can save it. It's just two weird flavors doing their own thing independently in my mouth. Except I'm not getting paid for it. Ukraine, I love you, but this is kind of gross. And in sort of our grand finale here, we have Ukrainian jalapeno flavored chips with Lithuanian ghost pepper flavored chips. So I wanted to save these for the end just in case that they were palate damagingly hot. Oh wow, oh my God. That's really cool. The texture, the look, the thickness of it is really cool. I enjoy that. Really muted smell. I don't know how you have a chip that looks this aggressive and smells like the inside of an NES game cartridge or something. It's almost plastic. Same texture as sort of the other chips. Looks a little cheaper, a little thinner. Some mild pepper smell to it. So we'll start with this, because I think this is probably going to be underwhelming. It vaguely tastes like a bell pepper. I don't know if maybe there was one jalapeno in the room when they cut these potatoes and they think that that's enough, but this is not hot at all. Incredibly boring. If I didn't see the label on this, I might think that this was even like a plain chip. It's not even to like barbecue level. Chaz Lithuanian Ghost Pepper. Also, I don't think that this is a legitimate chip brand, just because they have some other mean flavors. They have a penis and vagina flavored chip, separate, not together. And one, what? How would that even taste? And then two, I prefer to get my penis and vagina flavorings the old-fashioned way. Thank you very much. So we'll see how this ghost pepper is, but let me know if you want a follow-up video where I eat penis and vagina flavored chips from Lithuania. Ghost pepper. Oh. That's got some heat to it, some real heat to it. Ooh. I wouldn't say that it's like intolerable, but it's definitely got some zip to it. So with this degree of heat, this would probably benefit from some sour cream. The sour cream kind of neutralizes the really sharp edge to it, and now it just tastes sort of smoky. It's definitely got some heat to it, but it kind of completely neuters the spice to it. So these were interesting. Definitely a meme chip. This is not something that you would casually eat, but interesting nonetheless. So since this chip has absolutely no heat whatsoever, we'll try this with the hot sauce. My mouth is still a little watering from that other chip. It's actually pretty cool. So the tanginess of the truffle sauce mixed with the chip, it's really cool. They don't really meld well, but I kind of enjoy it. This chip overall is just super boring though. Alright guys, so I have the 2 hottest mustards from my mustard review and the hottest chip from my chip review, and I'm going to combine them in one mind-melting experience of palate and sinus combustion. If you want to check that out, check out my Patreon. After a careful internal review and consultation with one more beer, I think that these are sort of the winners. Typically when I do these, I give first and second place, and then one that sort of surprised me. And the one that really surprised me is this. I didn't really know what to expect. I thought it might be a little weird. I thought that I might enjoy it, but I didn't know that it would have such a specific and such a weird flavor to it. And for whatever reason, it really reminds me of that muffaletta sandwich in New Orleans. So I think if you could somehow get these chips with that sandwich, it would just be so magical. So this was the most surprising chip, the most interesting chip. Really kind of caught me off guard. Good job, Spain. And then we have sort of 1 and 2. Number 2 would be the Polish Dill chip. The flavor was incredible. The texture was fantastic. It's super dill. I expected it to be a little bit more mild, but it's really potent. So if you don't like dill, you're going to hate this chip. But if you like dill even just a little bit, you should really give this a go if you can find it. And then the best chip of the day, and that would be flavor, texture, balance, all of it. The quality of the potatoes, I would say that it's this Piper's. So this was really well done. I really enjoyed the flavor of it. I think that this just sort of goes to show that there's something in the Anglo genetics that understands a potato chip so well. This was just really fantastically done. A great chip. Also, special shout out to these. Totally unexpected that this would be so good. You know, if this was like a legit chip that was, you know, given a little bit more care and consideration, then, you know, it might have won. Alright guys, so that's the weirdest chips of Europe that I could find. There are so many more, and I have a weird Lay's chips that I'm collecting, so if you want to see that, let me know. Also, if you guys want to see a hot sauce video, let me know, because I really love hot sauces. Even though I'm a bit of a wuss sometimes, it's something that I really enjoy. So that's the chip video. Let me know what you think. What are your favorite chips? What did I miss? Obviously, I missed a ton. I think that Europeans sort of consume chips more mindfully than Americans do, which is probably what we should do as well. But this has been really fun. It was an excellent excuse to sort of consume empty calories and drink a beer, and then talk to my friends online. So, as always, guys, thank you very much for joining me. I hope to see you guys for the next one. And as always, till next time. Also, before any of you cretins comment, this is how you pour a Czech beer. Don't even write anything. I don't want to hear it.